What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, viewers of this video? Bill Mack here with another edition of Pro Wrestling Unleashed. Glad you folks could join me for another video as I'm giving you the Raw recap for September the 11th, 2017. Yes, this is, of course, this is anniversary of the terrorist attacks that happened back on 2001. Of course, we have to take time to remember those and remember those that gave their lives, those in the buildings, and those responders that, never made it out but gave their lives to try to help others. Very sad day in our time for our nation and our country to, have to band together and stand against terrorism. And this war on terrorism, as we've been trying to fight over the last 16 years, has been a very long one, but we've tried to, and we've seen terrorism grow more and more through each year. We just try to combat it and try to go against it. But, it's really, really touches the heart, to realize those that were lost, 3,000 and plus that September 11th day. So, it's really just want to keep that moment of, WWE started off their show, of course, having given a remembrance of silence of those that were lost that day. So, let's just get right into the video as I was starting off. But yeah, it was a good Raw. I thought it was pretty decent. Nothing out of the ordinary. I thought last week was a little bit better. We did have, of course, a surprise addition that was given early in the show. But let's just get right into the results and what exactly happened on Raw. We begin the show off, of course, with Roman Reigns taking on Jason Jordan. Remember last week, Jason Jordan took on John Cena, and he's trying to get respect. He's trying to be legitimate and stand on his own. And he had a good match with Cena last week. We saw his athletic skills. And we also saw another good match this week with Roman Reigns. The match went a little bit longer with Reigns than it did Cena. Cena watched the match throughout. Of course, Jason Jordan used his amateur background as part of it. The big dog, was a little bit harder to deal with than Cena. We seen basically he, tried the same moves, a lot of the same stuff we seen him do. Hit the two Northern Lights on Roman, of course, but to no avail. Ending comes when we see after, like I said, the match was about 25 minutes, 25, maybe a little longer. We see Roman Reigns, Jason Jordan goes to hit him, hits the ring post. Roman Reigns goes up, hits him in the Superman punch, followed by the spear. 1, 2, 3. Cena comes out. Of course. They cut promos back and forth for their match at No Mercy, which I'm not going to get into all the specifics. They were just cutting promos and continuing on their back and forth as they have been doing the past few weeks. We had a matchup where Sasha Banks took on Emma. Emma basically used as a jobber. I know Emma can wrestle. Emma used to go wrestle in NXT. They've brought her up here. Now, whether Vince has been upset about the whole time with her Emelina vignettes for 6 months not working, or her just not being able to grasp the character, whatever, but ever since Vince has brought Emma back, she's tried to make a name for herself the last month or two with the hashtags and social media, but to me, they're just using her as a jobber. The only reason why her and Nia was included into the Fatal 4-Way matchup was because Vince doesn't want the other 3 women to be pinned. They want Emma to be pinned. So, in my prediction video, of course, I know Emma's not going to win. She's going to be the one that gets the pinfall, whoever wins. So they've let her. She's lost every single matchup. Really hadn't had a lot to going on in the match, even though she can wrestle. So really sad to see Emma in this state, but. We saw Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax joining at the announce booth and them kind of going back and forth with it, and we see Sasha Banks end up countering Emma into a bank statement, of course, to get the win. She ends up tapping out. Sasha Banks prevails in this matchup. We see Paul Heyman come to the ring with Brock Lesnar. Paul Heyman cuts a promo on Braun about some people say that he's bigger than Brock and stronger, but is he better? And to test that, he'll have to in order to become the Universal Champion, he has to be all 3 against Brock. And so he says, if you're ready to fight, you're ready to fight. He says, hey, You wanted a chance to come out? I'm giving you a chance now. No less than a few seconds later, Braun's music hits. He comes out there, and we see him going back and forth. Brock tries to hit. Brock ends up hitting a suplex on Braun. Braun pops up like nothing, and by the time Brock gets through laughing and turns around, he's staring Braun face to face. Braun ends up hitting a choke slam, ends up hitting the power slam. He's standing over Brock with the belt, drapes the belt across Brock's chest, pats him on the shoulder, and kind of lets him know, hey, big fella, I'm coming for you, and I'm getting that WWE Universal title. So, good segment with them. Braun still looks strong like a monster, which is what I expect him to do. We have a matchup with Goldust. Remember, Goldust has had this sense of the re-coming out, I guess, or trying for one last push. In the WWE, he's getting older. Bray Wyatt, of course, they both pitted it as a weird versus weird. Maybe Goldust can understand Bray because Bray is weird just like a Goldust is. We see Wyatt end up hitting the Sister Abigail for the win, and then after the matchup, he takes a towel or rag or something, and he starts wiping the makeup off of Goldust and he says, see, he's nothing but a man, just like Finn Balor is. So this upsets Finn. Finn comes out. Bray, of course, gets out of the ring and makes his way to the back. But this just plays off the fact that, remember last week, Bray said that he wanted to face man versus man. He wanted to face Finn Balor, not the Demon. Remember, the Demon had the makeup on. And that was the different alter ego of Finn Balor. So now he's trying to say that the makeup is nothing more than just a man hiding behind his fears, is what a promo that Bray had cut on Goldust before the match. He said the makeup is nothing but a mask to hide behind your fears. So, remains to be seen. This looks like this feud is still heating up between Finn and Bray, and I like this feud. I think it's a really good feud. We see a backstage interview with Charlie Caruso. She's interviewing Sheamus and Cesaro, and she was asking him about the matchup against the Club, and they said that they actually think the Club's more of a threat than Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins are, because they've wrestled as a team. They're like brothers. So, and they've been a tag team all over the world, won many, many championships. And he said that when it all comes down to it, worst comes to worst, Ambrose and Seth will turn on each other. They'll feed each other to the dogs, is what Sheamus said. So we come up to the matchup. We have Sheamus and Cesaro taking on the Club. Well, as they come out, we see Rollins and Ambrose sitting at the announce table. Of course, Sheamus and Cesaro go back and forth with them. They jump and attack Seth and Dean. They're fighting, and then all of a sudden we see the Club come up the ramp, and they join in on it. This leads Ambrose to being upset. Goes to Kurt, says, I want a match. We'll fight all of them. Kurt says, no. Find you another tag team, and we'll have an 8-man tag match for tonight's main event. So then we see that this is basically what happened. And then we see a match with, we see Elias sitting out there singing a song about Anaheim, which was funny. I like it. I like Elias. I think he's really cool. But he sings a song, and then we see Kalisto's music come out. Kalisto starts out strong, but of course, Elias is very strong, very powerful compared to Kalisto. That pretty much takes over, and we see Kalisto basically hits the drift away on Kalisto for the 3 count. So, again, we see Elias, at least he's back on Raw. I like Elias. Some people may not, but I think he's a cool character. I like his character. It's getting over more on the main roster than it is in NXT, which is sometimes the opposite. Usually it goes off better on NXT than it does on the main roster, but it's Elias, so really what can you say? So we have the second match of the two of the big two that we're talking about pushing the whole night. It was Rollins versus it was Roman Reigns versus Jason Jordan, Cena versus Braun Strowman. And remember, Braun had just come off that high of putting down Brock. Cena didn't stand a chance. Cena major sold this. It wasn't even a match. Braun literally just dominated Cena this whole matchup. Cena tried to get a little bit of offense in, but it was nowhere near enough to stop Braun. This match wasn't even a match. it was more like a for Cena. I was not burying him, and I'm glad that he didn't. He kind of allowed Cena allowed himself to kind of get just to lift Braun up to show you just how strong he was, and Braun was just taking Cena down and overpowering the whole matchup. At one point we see Braun get the stairs and he put him in the ring. He ends up taking Cena and power slamming him onto the steps, which allowed the disqualification, which Cena won. But trust me, after the matchup, Cena didn't feel like he won anything. And they asked Roman Reigns, which was watching this match, what did he think? He says, well, the monster didn't give him no sympathy. He says, I'm not about to give him any. So this just carries on their feud on what's going to happen at No Mercy. We have the surprise I was telling you about. Miz TV, tonight's guest was Enzo. No, that's not the surprise. But Enzo and Maurice both had microphones, which I thought was odd because typically she doesn't do a lot of talking. And he starts talking about, they have a surprise. And they didn't know when to announce it. That they wanted to announce it at the place where he met her, which was in WWE and whatnot. And he announces that, or she does, that they're having a baby. So congratulations. The It couple is having an It baby. So congratulations to the Miz and Maurice. They've been married for a while. It's great to see. And I'm glad, folks, let me take this time to interject my point of view. It feels good to see something because I hadn't read anything about this happening. There was no coverage of it. There was a lot of tweets after the announcement from many different wrestlers congratulating the Miz and Maurice. And I extended mine on Twitter. But it wasn't like Mr. Cena, who wanted to make sure that they knew months in advance he was going to propose to Nikki at WrestleMania. Nikki acting all surprised that this happened. It was nothing but a bunch of PR baloney. I'm glad to see that this was done natural. The Miz seemed really happy about it. Maurice was very happy about it. The WWE Universe was cheering about it. They were glad to see it. I'm glad myself. I like the Miz. I'm a Miz guy. But it was good to see him actually, I know Miz is a good guy. It's good to see him, and they love a couple, so I'm glad and congratulations to them. But then Enzo comes out as they're starting to talk, and this upsets the Miz. And then, of course, Enzo, he cuts a deep, harsh promo on Enzo when he talks about why he's not liked, why he got kicked off the bus. I mean, a lot of the stuff is real life. Miz interjects in his promos on when he uses those, when he does cut his promos, he uses a lot of real life stuff. That's what the Miz does, and that's what they used in this promo. Then Enzo gets upset. Enzo says some kind of comments back about the debate about he's SAWFT soft, and then he's like, who's the daddy? He mentions that. This really sets the Miz off. When they end up having a matchup, the Miz, of course, is dominating, beating the crap out of Enzo. But whenever he said that, the Miz lit into him. The Miz Taraji ended up lighting into him. He got disqualified. Miz ended up hitting the skull-crushing finale. And it's then put poor Enzo out, which is to be expected. Enzo's got a lot of heat on him. More so, he can't find his own place. The Miz was talking about they don't like him on they don't like him on 205 Live. The Vince just didn't have nowhere else to put him. So he quit. He was just telling the real life what a lot of people were seeing, and that's what John Cena. I didn't get into Cena and Roman's promos back and forth because they're taking what a lot of us that truly see Cena and Roman Reigns for who they truly are and what we think of them, and they're using them in promos. So it's kind of a throw to us, but that's the real reality of what we think of both of those guys. So that's what they used in this instance again as real life in the promos. So we end up seeing backstage. When we come back, Enzo's holding his back. We see he's leaning over, and Neville just looks at him and just starts laughing as he leaves. So we see Dean Ambrose and we see Rollins trying to get different ones, and they look at Dean Malenko and Jamie Noble, and look at different ones, and then they run into the Hardys and ask them what are they doing tonight, and they end up basically agreeing to tag. So here we are in the main event. We have an 8-man tag match between the Hardys and Dean and Ambrose and Seth Rollins taking on the Club and James Cesaro. This was a pretty decent, 20-minute main event. All the guys did their works through this. We see basically Rollins ends up getting the running knee on Anderson, which follows up with Dean hitting the dirty deeds, and the good guys win. Thumbs up to that, though. But it's good to see that happen. I knew it was going to happen. I just can't wait to see No Mercy. I want to see Braun and Brock. I think that'll be my match to see. But I think there's a lot of matches going on. Storylines are going on pretty good. So still a little over 2 weeks away. But I'm looking forward to this. So I hope you folks have enjoyed this video. If you do, drop a like on it, upvote it, subscribe to me, follow me, share this video with someone else. And until next time, for Pro Wrestling Unleashed, this is Bill Mack. Thanks once again for the Raw recap. Saying, take it easy.
Yeah.